Potato Homestead with Jess. Today we are going to can up some potatoes. So follow along with me and I will show you how. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing. For the rest of you that follow along with me, you know that I have been trying to clean out my freezer and get the meats canned up out of there. Well, yesterday I was gifted 4 bags of potatoes. So I've put a halt on canning what's in the freezer, and I am moving on to these potatoes that I was gifted. I just want to say how thankful I am to get these potatoes, and I just want to throw out a suggestion there. When you're gifted things like this, don't get frustrated. I used to, back when I first started canning, I used to get really frustrated. I was trying to work on one project and I had set goals that I wanted to get done, and then, you know, something would come along where I was gifted something and I needed to get it processed right away, and I would get frustrated and overwhelmed because I just felt like there was just so much on my plate. So now that I'm getting older and I've learned lessons, I try to just go with the flow. If something's gifted to me, I'm really thankful, like I said, and I just try to roll with the punches, and I will process whatever needs processed first, and then I will go back and work on the things that I wanted to work on in the first place. So what we got going on here is I got 4 bags of potatoes, like I said. I washed them and separated them. These ones here are much bigger potatoes. I will peel them. I've got my peeler here. I've got a paring knife here. And then when I separated them, I separated the big ones from the small ones. The small ones here, I put in quart size wide mouth mason jars. I went ahead and blanched these for 10 minutes, put them in the jars, and then added water. I'm going to put the lids on these and put them in my smaller pressure canner, and I will pressure can these. And then the bigger potatoes I am going to peel, dice, and cut into french fries. So I'm going to get started on this, and then I'll bring you back when these are all processed, when these are all cut up and diced. And also I want to mention, as I'm dicing up my potatoes or cutting them into french fries, I have 2 bowls here, one for the diced potatoes, one for the french fries, and it is full of water and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, so that as I'm going through the motion of cutting them up, I will put them in my bowl. The lemon juice just prevents them from turning brown. So I'm going to get started on this, and I'll bring you back when I have things all cut up. Alright everyone, so I'm back, and I just went through the motions of chopping, peeling, chopping, and dicing potatoes up. I went ahead and you've seen that I have my lemon juice. I went ahead and soaked these in the lemon juice as I was cutting and chopping. And then what I did was I went over to the sink and rinsed them all off. I rinsed them really, really good, thoroughly. And then what I did was I blanched them for 2 minutes. If you don't know what blanching is, it just means I brought a big pot of water to a boil. Once it came to a boil, I dropped in my potatoes and let that boil for 2 minutes. Then I pulled them out, put them in the sink, and rapidly cooled them off so that they wouldn't continue cooking. The reason we blanch is because we're trying to get not all, but most of the starch off the potatoes before we can. So now that I've processed that step, I forgot to mention, I also have the whole potatoes in the canner. I ended up processing the whole potatoes for 40 minutes in quart-sized jars. Now all I have to do is get these into jars and get them into the canner. So let's get started with that. I'm going to try to get all my diced potatoes in the regular mouth jars. And then the french fries that I made, I will put in the wide mouth so it'd be easier to get out. It really doesn't matter though. Either one works. And I am not adding any salt to these. I will just add water, and that's all you need. I also wanted to mention a quick tip. Now, because I'm doing such a large batch today, I only have 2 pressure canners. So those are what I have to work with. When one's hot, I try to get it to cool down as fast as I can. Now, when you're pressure canning or water bath canning, you're not supposed to move your pressure canners off the stove until they've cooled down. So when I'm doing large batches and I want to check to see if the pressure has come down from my canner, what I do is I'll move the gauge to the side a little bit. You hear that? It's still got a lot of pressure in it, so I'll leave it alone until it comes down to pressure. Once it comes down and there's no sizzling coming out of that weight anymore, I'll take my weight off and my lid and allow that to come down to room temperature a lot faster than just leaving the lid and the weight on it. And that way I can get my next batch of whatever I'm doing going and processed. So that's just a little tip for you. So I'm going to start filling my jars with water. Also, another thing that needs to be noted is you should not be using city water, filtered water. I have a spring, so all my water comes from the hillside beside me. So I don't have to worry about that. I've never had to worry about that. We've had a spring here since Barrett's parents have been alive and living here. So you might want to check on that. I think it's just filtered water, but you definitely don't want to use well water or city water. We're going to wipe our rims with white vinegar. Make sure your potatoes are covered. You debubbled them. I couldn't find my green debubbler, so I had to go in the pantry and get my other one. Make sure it's good and debubbled. Put your lid and your ring on, and that's ready to go into the canner. Now, my big pressure canner I haven't used today, so it's cool. Everything has cooled down. I have cold jars, cold potatoes, and a cold canner. I'm going to put my flour sack cloth down in my canner. And if you haven't seen my videos before, the reason I do this is so that I can get more canning jars in there. With the rack, I can only get so many canning jars in. I'll do another one for you. Don't forget to wipe your rims. Lid and ring. They look pretty, don't they? Get this in the canner. Alright, I'm going to continue filling my jars and get them in the pressure canner, and I'll be back with you. Alright, so I ran out of room in my canner, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on high since that's full. And I'll have to have Barrett run out to the barn and get some more canning jars for me because I'm running out already. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling the jars with my French fries. So what I do is I like to turn the jar to the side and try to line the French fries like this. That way I can get more in there. Now, some of you might be wondering why I'm canning things like French fries and beans, things that aren't keto. And the reason I do this is because my husband's not keto, and other people in my family that come over to eat aren't keto either. So I like to make sure I'm stocked up on foods that they can enjoy too. And if they choose to, they can try or eat my keto food as well. Also, with everything in the world that's going on right now, the food shortages and everything, if something happens and I can't get my hands on my almond flour or my keto foods that I am used to eating, I mean, I don't want to starve. So this is a backup. If I can't continue my keto lifestyle, that's fine. And times that are rough like that, I will just eat regular food again. And I mean, you got to think ahead if something was to happen. I do have keto food that I do can as well, but if my essentials run out, then what am I supposed to do? So that's just something that you might want to keep in the back of your head too as well if you're keto or low carb. These French fries, when you can them like this is awesome, because when you take them out of the jar and you drain them, you can put them in seasoning or salt or whatever you choose to do with them, and then you put them in the oven, and they're, for one, they don't take very long because they're already pre-cooked, and two, you can put the broiler on and get them crispy, and they're like the best French fries you'll ever eat. Once you get your jar filled up to the way you want it, we'll go ahead and fill it with water. Make sure the potatoes are covered. Make sure to debubble. If you need to, this is the time to add more water. If there's one sticking out or whatever, go ahead and take it out. Just try to get all your potatoes under water. If you need to, add more. Wipe your rim. Add your lid. And a ring. Aren't they so pretty? Alright. Now these ones, I'm going to continue filling up my jars until, there'll probably be 5 that fit in the little can, 4 that fit in the little canner. So I'm going to fill 4 jars up, wait for my little canner to come down and cool off, and then I'll get these into the pressure canner and I'll bring it back. So I pulled everything out of the canners. I've got one batch. Oh, Barrett moved the canner. I've got one batch still cooling off a little bit, but I just wanted to show you the end product. Here are the whole potatoes. I did 4 of those jars. Ooh, that's still kind of hot. Here are the diced potatoes. And here are the French fries. I just want to thank you for following along with Keto Homestead with Jess, and I hope to see you soon.